Welcome into the Cowboys Report, presented today by Roan. I'm rocking one of their polos, part of their commuter collection. And if you want to look good and feel good, you should get some Roan products yourself. Get 20% off your order at roan.com/chatsports when you use promo code chatsports. Let's get into some OTA winners and losers. As promised for you guys, we'll spend some time, have some fun on this. First up is Tony Pollard. Now, we mentioned him on yesterday's show. The injury update, it's the same reason why he is on the winner's side. I've never been that concerned about the leg fracture healing on its own and the tightrope ankle surgery procedure. I have full expectation Pollard will be cleared, good to go, all that good stuff. By the time training camp rolls around, he did take some walkthrough reps at OTAs, so a good process from that perspective, in terms of progress, I should say, for Tony Pollard, which is a very good sign for your Dallas Cowboys. Now, if you enjoy our Cowboys YouTube videos, we thank you for watching and supporting us here. The single best thing you can do is share a video, because it gets it in front of more eyeballs, allows us to continue to grow and expand the Chat Sports studio spaces like we're actually currently doing right now. So help us out. Share today's video. Help us grow here at the Cowboys Report by Chat Sports. Next up is Deuce Vaughn, the running back. And there hasn't been that much open media portions of OTAs, but the general consensus of the top play, so to speak, came from Deuce Vaughn. He had the play of the day, coming back to the ball, making a 45-yard catch on a bit of a scramble drill from Will Grier. Always a good sign when I don't know if the sexy edition is the right term for it, since it was a later round pick, but the running back edition making an early impact for the Dallas Cowboys, something you just love to see. Let's go to the other small person on this Cowboys team, and small by NFL standards, like they're actually still kind of pretty big people overall. That's KaVontae Turpin, who, good news here, he was the only one getting reps on returns, although it is early, so I wouldn't assume that means he's the only one who will ever get them. Again, it was only at the open portion of OTAs. And he actually got reps on offense. That's the bigger part for me, because I would like to see KaVontae Turpin actually used on offense. The Cowboys use him as kind of a hybrid decoy gadget player. He wasn't really a part of the offense, despite having the speed that the Cowboys desperately lacked last season. They got some more with Brandin Cooks, more on him, by the way, in a little bit. But if you can find a role for Turpin, even if it's only the Lucky Whitehead gadget type of player, I think that is valuable. Now, I had thought the Cowboys would find a role for him last year, and they did not. So will the Cowboys actually use KaVontae Turpin on offense this year? It's the pinned comment on today's show. Y for yes, they will. N for no, they will not. Head down to that pinned comment and sound off. Y or N. You probably suspected that the rookie first-round pick would be on here. Mazi Smith, the defensive tackle, also a winner. Big ups to Patrick No C. Walker, by the way, for having a good little recap on OTAs. Mentioned that Mazi Smith is already getting some double teams against him, which is I think a positive sign that the offensive line is already locking on to Mazi as a player they've got to try to corral and control, which is also part of Mazi Smith's job. And in theory, hopefully, the pass rush side of things will begin to emerge in the not-too-distant future for Smith. He himself has said he did not have anything really resembling a pass rush plan in the past. It was more of a stop the run and then figure out the rest later, which is fine for the job that Mazi Smith was asked to do at Michigan. But to really be worth that early first-round pick, you want a little bit more from the pass rush perspective. So hopefully half a sack is the minimum for what Smith can do early on in his season, and that you'll see more of a developmental plan with Aiden Dirty, with Dan Quinn, etc. up front on that defensive line. Like we mentioned, today's show is made possible by Roan. Their commuter collection can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. This polo, perfect for golfing. I'm a big golf fan, by the way. Perfect for going out to the bars for drinks, going out to meeting up with friends, or just driving home and being able to not feel stiff and maybe a bit sweaty or whatever there. They have the best products in terms of the comfort. Right? The commuter collection has 4-way stretch fabric, provides breathability and flexibility for whatever life throws your way. It also allows you to, with the wrinkle release technology, it kind of gets rid of the wrinkles as you wear it more and more. And there's Gold Fusion anti-odor technology, so you're not stinking up the room or the car or the office or whatever. Upgrade your closet with Rhone. Go to Rhone.com/chatsports and use promo code chatsports to save 20% off your order, your entire order, by the way. That's RHONE.com/chatsports and use code chatsports. Find your corner office comfort today. Some more OTA winners here, much like Rhone, a winner product. Stefan Gilmore, one of the big-time trade acquisitions this offseason by the Dallas Cowboys. He broke up multiple passes at the open portion of organized team activities against a couple different receivers. Trevon Diggs not present. More on him later, by the way. Meaning Gilmore was the team's number one receiver, and he was the one asked to step up and play a big-time role for this Cowboys cornerback group early on, which I think will be a good thing to get him acclimated to the rest of the team. His opposite running mate, I guess that's a term that could kind of make some sense. His counterpart is probably the term I'm looking for. Brandin Cooks, also an OTA winner. Of course, media talks to the offensive players more than defensive players, the head coach, the quarterback, etc. CeeDee Lamb, Gallup, all of them have been very effusive in their praise towards Brandin Cooks. Here's what head coach Mike McCarthy said about both Cooks and Stephon Gilmore. Two solid veterans. Their veteran experience and their abilities speaks for itself. They've been everything we thought they would be. The professionalism is top-notch. They both have made impacts in their position rooms. Obviously, with me being with the offense and being around Brandin, I'm just so happy he's here. Both have made an impact already. I wouldn't expect Mike to say much else, but that's exactly what I want Mike McCarthy to say anyway. Both of these two veterans are being counted on to make a big-time impact this year at positions of need. Of the two, who do you think ends up making the bigger impact for this Cowboys team? SG for Stephon Gilmore or BC for Brandin Cooks? Go ahead and vote for us in the comments section. I'm going to lump the pass rushers together here. You're wondering why? Well, our good friend DeMarcus Ware was present and doing some filmed for NFL Films training work with some of the pass rushers. I view that as an absolute win. You're able to spend time with a Hall of Fame pass rusher, get a couple tips and tricks of the trade. Always a good thing, especially for those young players at that spot. Matt Farniok, next up here. It is heavy on the offense in general because there's no real tackling contact. Also more on that later on in today's show. But Matt Farniok was the leader. I'll put it in air quotes since, it's May. I wouldn't assume it's a clear-cut, locked-in, loaded thing. But Farniok was the one getting the reps, most of the reps, the early reps, with the first-team group at left guard. I think the Cowboys like Matt Farniok. I still think Chuma Edoga, Asim Richards, maybe somebody else in that group ends up emerging. Maybe you try Tyler Smith there at left guard. Seems like that's not the path they're going, as we discussed yesterday. But that leaves a big hole at the left guard spot. And that would allow Matt Farniok to potentially emerge in year 3 now, after not having played much last year, as a potential piece at the left guard spot. He has to earn it. If those young guys don't earn it, the Cowboys will look in a different veteran direction, as they've done in years past during training camp. We are 247 subs away from 156,000 here at the Cowboys Report. Help us get there. In exchange, by subscribing, you get free Cowboys videos every single day. I think it's a pretty good deal, but that's just me. Go ahead and subscribe. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. The last winner, Simi Fehoko. Now, I was actually going through last year's OTA winners and losers video, and I happened to pause at the point of Fehoko, where it said he was getting first-team reps, some first-team reps, but had 2 bad drops, one of which led to an INT, which in hindsight, maybe it was a precursor for what ended up happening across the board at the wide receiver room this year. But this year, Fehoko got some reps with the first-team unit at wide receiver and was not dropping passes. That's a good sign. That wide receiver 4 spot is pretty open. And no C. Patrick Walker did mention that Simi Fehoko stood out more than Jalen Tolbert did. Your top 3 are locked in if healthy. Knock on wood. Tolbert, Fehoko, and then others, a Houston, a Jalen Marino Cropper, Brooks, Jourdan, Drummond, etc. That 4 spot's wide open. If Fehoko can take advantage of it and maybe play the Noah Brown role, be a core special teamer for you, that's going to matter a lot too for that number 4 spot. That's a good sign for America's team. Now, I'm sure you guys have been locked and loaded in on OTAs as well. So name a Cowboys OTA winner. Maybe one I didn't mention on today's show. Go ahead and sound off for us in the comment section. We move to the loser side, and I don't know what to do here, to be quite honest. Kelvin Joseph, question mark, is on here. As we discussed on yesterday's show, Kelvin Joseph has been getting work at the nickel corner spot. He's also been doing some walkthrough stuff with the safety room, which I do find interesting. But Joseph and everyone else has been saying it's a nickel corner, so it might have been a position group balancing things. Since there's a lot more corners than there are safeties, whatever the reason was, this is being called a nickel corner role for Kelvin Joseph. And I can't quite decide if this is a good thing or a bad thing. Where does it fall in the category? Because in theory, I kind of actually would almost like to see him be a safety. He was one in high school, technically speaking, and that's an easier path to making the roster. We'll go in depth on some of the pros and cons. Here's what Joseph had to say. Having this opportunity to play nickel, it means a lot to me. It's a big chance for me and an advantage because of my capabilities, what I'm able to do. I'm just going to show the coach that I'm available, and he can rely on me to play the position whenever he needs me to. So I'm not sure how to feel about the change as it relates to Joseph's chances of making the roster. I mean, Eric Scottage got a couple of first-team reps as an outside corner, and Sean Wright did too. The balancing of, well, Jourdan Lewis is a nickel, Deron Bland can play nickel, Israel Mukuamu can too, and that's why they were running Joseph with Mukuamu in that grouping as an over, kind of that slot role there. I don't know if it's easier for Joseph to end up making the team from that perspective. That's kind of a concern for me from that perspective of, is it going to end up being a fit? Is it going to be harder for him to make it because there are other nickel corners in, most notably Jourdan Lewis, Deron Bland? That's the tricky balancing act that I don't know what the answer is yet. So I want you guys to help me out. Is Kelvin Joseph's position change a good thing? G for it's good to that nickel corner role. B for it is bad. I kind of almost want to try and see safety. That's mixing and matching things too much there. So is it a good thing? G or B in the comment section. Let's talk more losers. How about those not present? And before we get too far in, it's not that big of a deal. It's OTAs. It's voluntary. It's not that big of a deal. And by present, I'm going to include guys not working out, guys not actively involved. So 8 notable veterans who were mentioned in this grouping: Bryan Anger, the punter; Trevon Diggs. By the way, this is not contract related, so don't panic there. Dante Fowler, Johnathan Hankins, Malik Hooker, DeMarcus Lawrence, Jourdan Lewis, and Zack Martin. Pretty much all those guys fall into one of two categories: coming off of injury, or they're old. And if you're old, namely looking at you, Zack Martin, even the punter, Bryan Anger, not as impactful. That was just for the open portion. They could have been there. Maybe they were getting some minor rehab training stuff done behind the scenes on that day only. So nothing to be too concerned about for any of those guys, but I do want to make note of it. The next loser, the number 0, apparently is not going to be used as previously thought. So couple weeks ago, around the draft, or before the draft, I should say, maybe it was months ago now, reported that Jayron Kearse had beaten out Micah Parsons, which I think was not really a serious comment by Micah anyway, to be number 0. That was reported by the Cowboys official website. Well, Jayron shows up, and he's not wearing 0 after all. Maybe what happened was, a speculation on my part, Kearse wanted to wear 0 and then went, wait, to buy out my jerseys? I'm not doing that for a number. So maybe DeMarvion Overshown does end up getting number 0, which he wore at Texas. But for now, no Cowboy rocking number 0 this year. Finally, the last loser, I'm cheating here, it's contact. If you wanted players hitting each other, not really happening. Mike McCarthy's been fined in the past 2 years. They've been docked OTAs as well because too physical. In football, which I find kind of dumb, but I guess I get the intention behind it there. So a dialed back from a physicality standpoint, OTAs this year. So with those in mind, and there are not really many actual losers, I suppose, but try your best. Name one for me in the comment section right now.